Welcome back to the Leo Valentino Show. My name is Leo Valentino, and this is your place to learn how to become the best version of yourself. And where my job is simple, and I have one job, and that is to find the gifts, help you find the gifts that you already have, and become the best leader that you can from those gifts. And so today we're talking about a philosophy that I have been following for many years. It's something that I teach very often to my students. I teach on events, I teach on stages, and it is called the Truka8. And so if you're here early, live, type in the chat Truka8. If you're watching this later, comment down below Truka8 or take a big note and write Truka8 because we're going to go right into it and I have a lot to cover. So, this right here is what is called the Truka8. And as I'm explaining it, I want you to just take a look at this. Of course, it's a pretty picture, but it acts as a blueprint for a whole, strong, and free life. This represents the 8 categories of our life. And from all the books up there that I've read, all the books that myself, my business partner, my friends have studied, we've always tried to conceptualize and put everything into one place, right? All of life's categories into one place. And seemingly, these 8 have been the 8 where everything from your health, your mind, your spirit, your wealth, your relationships, all are encapsulated across these 8. So let's take a look at them. We have vitality, emotions, faith, tribe, vocation, wealth, environment, and wisdom. This is, again, the blueprint and going to be the video that you can come back to really understand what these 8 are. Now, what I want to talk about more than anything else today is momentum. We're going to use this blueprint to start building momentum in our lives, start building gravitas, which essentially means it's so hard to stop you because you've been taking steps every single day forward. And you think about a rhino, and when a rhino starts moving, it picks up a little bit slow and it finally gets up and it starts running and it's slow, right? But as it's running, it starts picking up speed and momentum. And by the time 30 seconds passes, it's running full speed. And you do not want to be in front of that giant beast. That's what momentum is. Or think about a freight train, right? A freight train is you think about a train that's holding thousands of pounds of coal. And the way that it starts picking up slowly and slowly and slowly. And before a minute, 2 minute passes, it's going full speed forward. And I don't care what you put in front of that train, nothing is going to stop that. Nothing is going to even slow down that train because it has so much what? It has so much momentum. Type that in the chat, write it down, bold it, say it to your friends, say it to everybody, text it to the people. Momentum. That is what we're going to build today. And we're going to use this simple blueprint to be able to do that. Again, I am live here, so I see all of your chats. I know a lot of people are here, but then also watch this later on. I like to interact with the people who are live because you're here and there's a bonus for being here. And as this show gets to 500, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, by the grace of God, when all those people are here, I wanna shout out the ones who were here in the very beginning. So Grace, Fernot, Josh, Luke, Josh, it says Jazz every time. It trips me up. Les, Andrew, all the crews here. So Truka8. When we look at these 8, we have to ask ourselves, where in our life are we doing good? Where in our life are we struggling in? Now, the whole philosophy can be boiled down to this. When one of these goes up, the rest of them go up. When one of them goes down, the rest of them go down. Your life is a bike wheel. When you take a bike and you got 8 different spokes on it, for example. When one of those spokes is broken, or let's just say when 2 of those spokes are off, broken, twisted, and you try to ride that bike, what's going to happen is it's going to be a very bumpy road. And so the same analogy has to do with our own life. If we are not working out or eating the right foods or sleeping well, for example, the main 3 in vitality, what happens? Our confidence gets shot. Our emotional intelligence gets shot. Our ability to assess problems correctly and have a sound mind when problems come up gets shot. For example, there's times where I have my Aura ring here, and I'll check my sleep score every single morning. Today I got a 76. I'll notice that when I'm below a 70, let's just say I get a 62, and I got 4.5 hours of sleep, and I go throughout my regular day to day, a small problem that comes up is 3 to 4 times as enlarged. There's moments where my business partner Andrew will text me something, and it's so small. He just says, "Hey, there's a problem. There's a money challenge that we got to talk about. Maybe a tax challenge." And on a usual day, taxes is just like, okay, let's figure it out. What do I got to pay? What do I owe? Let's make it happen. But when I don't have sleep and I get a finance question or a tax question, all of a sudden I go down this roller coaster of emotions or of what if I fail? What if I lose all my money? What if all the things I've been working for all this time go to crap? All because I didn't get my sleep. And because of that, my emotions go down. What happens when your emotions go down? The other aspects, your relationships, your tribe here. I'm trying to kind of work around this giant thing right here. Your tribe also goes down. So type in the chat yes if this is making sense so far, if I'm on track, if you're feeling like this is connecting. Because when one goes up, they all go up. When one goes down, they all go down. I have here wisdom, and I believe that wisdom is the most important one. They're all important in their own respects, but with wisdom, we're able to see these eight and see the importance of each of these. But in addition to that, we're able to say to ourselves, I know that I can't just focus on one, right? I've been focusing so much on wealth. I know that I can't just focus on wealth because when I do that, right, you might focus on making money and you might make money and it might take you 2 years to get to a great financial position. But all along that path, what happens to your health? What happens to your emotional health? What happens in your long term? And I'm talking about 5, 10, 20 years, right? You take 5 years to build your business and you just focus on that, but you get rid of all your relationships, you burn those bridges, and you don't sleep as much. That's gonna hit you many years down the road, and you're gonna wish that you had taken the time to sleep because you ask you ask a lot of 70, 80, 90 year olds, or you go on your phone and you look up those reels where people are asking the older people, hey, what's your biggest regret? And a lot of it is I wish I would have given myself less stress. I wish I would have been less hard on myself, right? Less emotionally hard on myself. I wish I would have taken more care of my health. I wish I would have, I've seen this a lot, been nicer to my kids, spent more time with my family. There's so many people that I talk to that say they would give up everything in their life in this moment to have another 5 minutes with their mother, or 5 minutes with their dad, or 5 minutes with their grandfather or their wife that passed away. Right? This perspective of the Truka 8 of our life as a whole acts as acts as wisdom for us to say, let me in whatever age you are. I'm 22 right now. I'll be 23 in a month from now, December 4th. If you want to shoot me a text, I will be so much more glad that at 22, I looked at this wheel and worked on my wealth, my vocation, my business, my tribe, my relationships, my faith, right? My surrender to God, my emotions, my emotional fortitude, my vitality, how much I sleep, what I eat, what I put into my body. Am I using filters at my home? I took a blood test. I took a blood test that I do every single month. And I have sleeves on, but if I had the sleeves off, you can see little where I do the blood test. It's an at-home blood test, and you do a little tap. I had to overcome my fear of doing that because I don't like blood. I don't like needles. But I take this every single month and it shows me how my estrogen is doing. It shows me how my testosterone, how my vitamin D is doing, all of the biometrics and vitals. It shows me how that's all doing. And I took a look at it, and it appears my estrogen is going down, which is a good thing. And it's because I have the filters, the water filters at home, the Berkey ones that take away all that estrogen, which cause all sorts of problems if it's untaken care of, right? When we're drinking water from tap or drinking water from water bottles, we're saying, government and big companies that run that stuff, I trust you. I trust you with my health to put the right things in that water, and I'm not going to even think about it. Same thing with food, same thing with social media. The stuff you put into your brain affect you a lot more than you guys think. And it actually affects, as you guys actually know, affects a lot more 2, 3, 5, 20, 30, 40 years down that road. And it's just so important to have that perspective, that lens of future, and also the lens of eternity, which I'll go into in another, that's gonna be another show episode that I'll do. So momentum comes from rhythm. Write that down, put in bold letters. And if you're here live, type in the chat rhythm, which is also the company that does the blood test, by the way. RYTHM. Momentum comes from rhythm. That means that I don't have to be perfect in all these eight and be working them all at the same time and be a 10 out of 10 in all of these. In fact, momentum doesn't happen that way. I talked about the Rhino and I talked about the freight train. Those things don't pick up at full speed right away. It's unrealistic. It's not something that can even happen scientifically for something to that big of a size, that has so much potential, that has so much strength, like a Rhino, like a freight train, like you, to go full speed right away. The wise way of looking at it, the I don't like to say true way of looking at it, but what I think is the true way of looking at it is, we have to take each of these step by step. And in each of those steps, more is shown to you, more wisdom is shown to you, more learning is shown to you. Okay, I have written down here, your job isn't to fix everything, it's to start moving in the important things. Your job isn't to fix everything, it's to start moving in the important things. Now, we all know how important it is to have our finances in a great place. I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, and it's important you to make a good yearly income so that you can travel the world and that you can give to your church, and you can uh, financially provide for your family, or provide for even yourself. And so wealth is such an important piece, but as is the rest of them. And we have to think about this, where if if our wealth is in a great place, but our health is absolutely shot, and your body is ridded of diseases, which again sometimes are completely unplanned. But let's just say, without sleep, without nutrition, without good sunlight or healing for your body's going to start to deteriorate. It doesn't matter how much money you have, you're going to ask yourself, why did I do this? Why did I gain all this profit, gain all this money, just to lose my body and to lose my soul? But then we take a twist on this perspective that I really want you guys to listen to and take a note on. When our body is in a great place, we are sleeping well. Sleep is free. We're eating well. Where if you just study a bit on what are the no-nos, right? What are the terrible things I shouldn't be putting in my body? And you just get rid of those, and you use common sense for the rest of it, right? You eat your veggies, you eat good meat, and you eat a clean diet. Don't eat too much sugar. Don't take in so much processed crap into your body. And you start working on that vitality. What's going to happen is that you're going to start to build this body and this confidence in yourself that makes you feel really, really good. Let's move this out of the way so I can get so clear on this. When I first started anything, okay, I was a personal trainer. I was 16 years old. I was doing sales. I was selling candy on the streets at that time in my school. But when I first started to get momentum in my life, it wasn't from making a ton of money, right? I made scrap at that time, but it felt fun doing sales. The first time I gained real momentum was in freshman year at Crunch Fitness. I went to in Daly City. It was about 20 minutes from my home. My girlfriend at the time, her sister and her sister's boyfriend, who was jacked, took me to the gym and they started showing me how to work out. And I was a scrawny little boy at the time. I was 16 around. I'm rolling up my sleeves right now. My forearms and my arms were like a third of this size. You could have broken me if you wanted to, right? Everyone on here that's live right now, you could have snapped me in half. That's how scrawny I was. And so they got me into the gym, and what they said first, hey, we're gonna work on everything, but focus on those shoulders and start doing some shoulder presses. Because what's gonna happen is you have the newbie gains, and we're gonna build momentum. We're gonna take action on your shoulders, and you're gonna look in the mirror 2 months from now, even 2 weeks, and you're gonna see the change fast. Because as humans and as this generation, I would say, no matter what age you are, you're still in this generation. We are equipped with social media and so much of instant gratification. Okay. And so we have to understand our nature, especially Gen Z and millennials. We still have instant gratification. And so we have to play along that nature. We have to play along that nature and use it for our good, use it for our benefit. And so 2 weeks later from working out, I was started with the fives, right? That's where I learned not to ego lift because I wanted to do the 35s that he was using because he looked strong and big. I was like, I want to get there. And so I tried the 35s and I almost hurt myself. And he told me this one lesson, and I'll get back to the main lesson. He said, Leo, if you can learn this one thing now, as soon as you possibly can, Leo, promise me that you'll learn it because it's going to save your life. It's going to translate into many other things other than just fitness. He said, look at all those people around. It's a gym full of big people. He said they've been doing it for 4 years, 6 years, 7 years. That guy 10 years. This lady over here 7 years. They can lift that amount of weight because they've earned it. They've done it enough times. They've protected themselves. He said, never, ever ego lift. Never lift beyond what you know you can do and not in the sense of challenging yourself, but never lift so other people can see how much you're lifting. And I think that lesson stuck with me more than just in fitness. It also stuck with me in how I lead my faith, how I lead my business, how I lead many things. It's do not ego lift. Do not lift by ego. Do not portray by ego. Do not act by just ego. Now I had someone named, one of my incredible friends, Aiden. Shout out to Aiden. He'll watch this in a little bit, and he said to me, Leo, ego lifting's not a or ego is not a bad thing. Ego is actually what drives us, and I agree with that. Every single one of us have an ego that says, hey, I want to grow. I want to be more. I want to be seen. And I think that we can take that ambition, right? Take that ambition, which there was a word for it that I will study more on it, but the word for ambition means, an outward expression of growth, an outward expression of celebration and an expression of doing more. We can take the energy, the lift and the momentum that gives us, but we can do it in a safer way. We can do it without having to say, hey, I want people to see how much I'm lifting, or I want people to see how many followers I have, or I want people to see how much money I have. And instead of that, we take the wiser, more holistic view, right? Let's bring this back up. Wisdom. We take the wiser view and say, I know that leading just with ego, it never works out for anyone in the long run. right? In the long, long, long run. Alexander the Great, he was 30, I believe 33 when he died, and he never took an L, which is awesome. And his ambitions led to some incredible things, but he died at such a young age because he just wouldn't stop. And when I think about some incredible people in our lives and awesome examples, I think about what their ambition did for them, but I also see places in their life where they weren't as wise. They didn't allow small steps to be their focus. Instead, they tried to take way bigger steps. They instead of focusing on level 3 and 4 when they're on level 2, they're looking at the influencer or the businessman who's on level 40, who's saying he's making 100K a month, and they're starting to compare themselves to them. And they're starting to do what that 100K a month person is telling you to do on their Instagram reels without having done the 39 other levels that that businessman did. And so you start expecting the 100K results at level 2 when you haven't even been through some of the trenches that that guru or that teacher or that person has laid out for their lives. And so the whole perspective brings us back to this, right? Your job isn't to fix everything. It is to start moving in the important things. Back to the story of when I built my shoulders, I look into the mirror and I see all of a sudden my shoulders are getting bigger. And I'm like, "Oh gosh, this is working." And I was a very insecure kid in high school. I was. My hair was, I had very thick Asian hair, so it was down, and I was chubbier, and my face was chubby because I got it from my beautiful mother, who has a more rounder face, but my body was scrawny, more like my father's, and so I was pretty unproportional. But looking in the mirror, I was like, wow, this is good. I have confidence. I'm feeling good. And I'm also doing something. I'm showing up to the gym 3 times a week at that time. And I'm finally doing something that I told myself I was going to do. And so at 16 years old, I built this deep confidence in the fact that I was working out every day. And I went from 3 days to 4 days to 5 days and starting to do some more workouts, some push-ups, some squats outside of the gym, which is part of the challenge that I want you guys to do, which I'll talk about in a moment. I want you guys to start doing some more push-ups, some more squats, and more reading, not just because of the fitness gain that it's going to do for you, but also for the mental, also for the emotional, also for the time that you'll get to read. Hopefully, you guys read something that's good for your brain, that develops your faith, develops your wisdom, right? Proverbs is an incredible book for that. Ecclesiastes is an incredible book for that. If you guys need a recommendation, wealth, vocation, those things get better because as your confidence grows, understand me, as your confidence grows, guess what else grows? Your ability to do what you say you're going to do. Doing what you said, doing what you say you're going to do, and doing that consistently has been the key, the quote unquote key to success that I have found in my life. If I can say, just for perspective, being 22, having made millions of dollars, not coming from a rich family, having made millions of dollars, being in a $1 million home in Southern California, my dream home, and having this beautiful life where I have an incredible, incredible brotherhood and friendship with somebody that I work with every single day, my chosen brother, an incredible, beautiful girlfriend, an awesome family. I say these things so that you know, number one, at 22, whether you're 25, 40, 50, 72, it doesn't matter what it is possible for you. It is possible for you. But all this life, this lifestyle that I currently live comes from the wisdom of taking account for the 8 most important pieces of my life and just taking it step by step. But you say, Leo, at 22, how could you have done that at such a young age? And it's because at 16, when I learned this lesson, I haven't stopped. When I started going to the gym at 16, I have not stopped going to the gym. There's a couple of days or a couple of weeks that I'll take off accidentally sometimes, but I haven't stopped going to the gym and growing there. Soon after that, I started growing the pecs and the shoulders and things were looking good. Okay, I was, people knew me as Coach Chun because I started a personal training business at that time. I was doing a personal training. I had two clients. I charged $500 for 3 months. I would do 15-minute FaceTime calls and say, "Hey, go do some shoulder presses." I just gave the same advice that worked for me, and they would pay me. And it was the first amount of money I started to make that was, I would say legit, but I think sales, selling candy was legit, but it was just arbitrage. But here I was providing a service for these individuals. I was finally able to work on my wealth with my vocation, with a business, with a service that I can add on to somebody. And because of that, I start making some money and I start needing to learn how to make more money. So I start reading books. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which taught me real estate. I read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, which taught me personal finance. So I started taking that 500 bucks I was making from personal training, and I got a job also at In-N-Out Burger. I was making $16.25 an hour at the time. Right? Praise God for that. $16.25 an hour, and I learned that you gotta have assets. You can't let that money just dwindle by buying stupid stuff. I learned that at 17 years old at this time. And I started to take 10%, like the richest man in Babylon says, and pay myself first. I started to invest in different stocks. I would buy Apple stocks. I would buy VOO. I would buy VTO. I would buy these index funds that I had no idea what it really meant. But Warren Buffett was saying to do it from the books I was reading at 17 years old. And I haven't stopped since then. It's been what, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 6 years. It's been 6 years since I started reading and working out, and I haven't stopped because I understood the philosophy that it's step by step. If I want to be successful, incredibly successful at 30 years old, at 22, I better start working on these things. If I want to be a great leader, I'll put some of my goals out there for those of you who know me and want to know me more, right? I want to be an incredible spiritual leader, right? A leader for not just life on this earth, right? Not just the worldly things, making more money, developing relationships here, developing your mindset. Those are things I really want to help you guys with, and identity and confidence and courage and all these things. But I also want to help you with the eternal, right? With past this lifetime, I want to help you there because I'm learning it for myself and seeing, wow, what an incredible adventure we get to live on this earth in this time, to be able to follow our creator, to be able to build our faith, to be able to, as Jesus say, serve and be a servant to all, be a slave to all. And that's one that I'm working through of like, oh, what does it mean to be a slave of all, a servant of all? It just means I ask myself every day, how can I serve you today? Only reason this show has come alive is because I asked myself the question, how can I serve at a higher level today? And I love when I get to talk to people one on one. I get some calls from you guys here and there, some students, and just some incredible people. And I love being able to serve on a one-to-one basis. But then there's times where I'll think about, how can I start serving at a higher level to more people? Can I reach 1,000 people with one sitting? Can I reach 10,000 people with one sitting? And that's where this show came about, was because I asked myself the question, how can I serve somebody in this time, in this day? Because I'm thinking about this. But I know that when I'm in 30 in 8 years from now, I'm going to be a much better spiritual leader. I'm going to be a much better entrepreneur, a business owner, a father, a husband, a friend, a son, all these things, because I'm just taking it step by step. And I'm not comparing myself to all the other people who, by that fact, are doing great things. But I know it's their level 40, their level 50, their level 26 when I'm still on level 4. And I know comparison, the great quote, comparison is a thief of all joy. And I'm not going to do that to myself because of wisdom. The wisdom that we're granted to not go look and put your head everywhere else. Just look straight. Look at you. Look at God and say, how can I serve? God, what do you want me to do today? Is there something you want me to do? And very typically, that's what your heart is saying to you when He says, go start that company, that ministry that helps people. Go start that content and teach people how to build their mindset. Do that thing because you're serving people. But the way that you make money is serving. Wealth, write this down in big, bold letters. Like, oh, I mean bold, I mean like, I got these two pens. One of them is bold, one of them is very light. I mean like bold. I made that analogy and I forgot what I was even going to say. Got it. Wealth is holistic. Wealth is holistic. Money is not wealth, right? Money is just the exchange of currency, the transfer of currency for the value you bring to somebody else. Money is not wealth. Wealth is being able to sleep at night and say, I'm healthy. My family is healthy. I have a good relationship with my, for me, in my case, my girlfriend, my brother, my brother's girlfriend, my family, my team, and I'm healthy. I used to say this all the time to myself and to other people that not you, there are 50,000, 100,000 plus people. You guys don't have to worry about it. 100,000 plus people that died today, but you didn't. You were able to sit here, wake up, and have breath in your lungs to be able to do what you do right now. You don't have to worry about that. And that right there is wealth. That right there is such a blessing. And so when I say wealth is holistic, it's not saying, hey, how much money do you have? It's saying, are these other aspects of your life taken care of? Are these other 8 categories taken care of? Are you good? Cool. Andrew's right here trying to fix this camera. Whatever mode it was at was good. Just say hey to Drew. I think that was a good moment to pause for a second because I lost my train of thought. Um, your job isn't to fix everything. It's to start moving in the important things. It's to look at these 8 and say, where in these 8 am I struggling in? Where in these 8 can I use some more help in? And where in these 8, if I focus on it, will help the other ones? And the easy answer is to say, dude, if I just had more money, everything would be better. And hey, there is wisdom to that. Money solves a lot of money problems. Money solves a lot of problems in general. However, wealth and money, and I want to bridge it here. Money that you receive and that can be used to solve other problems, again, is given to you by service that you add to others. Service that you add to others is built by skill sets that you have that can serve other people. The reason that I can hop on here and serve you guys is because I have a skill set of communication and a skill set of distilling ideas, timeless ideas, into simplified modern translations. And so that's why I can serve and also get paid really well for it. I run an education company and we do really, really well in translating complex ideas into simplified ways. And so when we think about how can we make more money, think about what skill sets do I need to learn to be able to serve more people? And what skill sets are close to me and based on the gifts that God has given us, right? God gives each of us different talents. There's multiple different scriptures like the parable of the talents that God talks about that shows that he gives us certain talents. I'm reading a book called Spiritual Leadership right now, and it talks about how every leader was anointed, not every leader was anointed. Let me take that back. Every leader was given those talents, was given those gifts for a reason. Now, some of them are anointed for some bigger things, and you see that in their life where God's hand is under them. And you also see a lot of influential people who have millions of followers and are impacting millions of people. They're also there for a reason. We do have to ask ourselves, where are they being led to, right? In the now and in eternity. But besides that point, you're given a set of gifts. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what skill set is aligned with that gift? If you're very good with people, and you're good at talking to people or understanding them, maybe you're like myself, who can kind of feel other people's emotions if they come into your space, and you love connecting with them. There's some incredible places for you in marketplace and in marketplace ministry, doing the same things. There's so many places for you in sales, in marketing, in coaching, training. Therapy is not the word, but in guidance. And there's so many avenues that you can take to start serving and also being able to make more money from that so that you can focus on the other 8 areas of your life. Because when your money goes up, you can afford some nicer food, you can afford a chef, you can afford cleaners to clean up your space, you can afford to handle any bills that are outstanding that are holding your emotions imprisoned, that they're holding your emotions hostage. And let's just talk about that for just a quick minute. Just a quick minute. Let's talk about money holding your emotions hostage. Because there's so many people like myself many years ago that didn't understand the truths of abundance, that didn't understand the velocity or not velocity, the simplicity of money, right? Seeing it as paper, from trees that is printed, and that should be yours, but you have to add more value. But to add more value, you've got to put more focus on a skill set. And that's why books and shows and these things are important. When it tells you, go do this for a long enough period of time so that you can start having a skill set of sales or a skill set of marketing. But do not forget, do not forget the identity aspect of it. Type in the chat identity. I'm going over a slew of things here, but it's all going to come together, guys, with this Truka8. It's all going to come together. Who you become is more important than the action itself. Because when the person grows, the money grows. When the person expands, the relationships expand. And I don't mean expanding by your head getting big or you making more money. I mean your grounding, your groundingness, your humility and growth in understanding who you are and whose you are. Let's dive into this. Who you are, okay? Why do we say we're not enough, or that I'm fat, or that I'm ugly, or that I can't do things right, or all these different negative thoughts that we think belong to us? No, those were given to you at a certain point in your life. When I was younger, I had multiple people tell me my eyes were too small. I had many people say that I wasn't normal. I had many people call me ugly. I had many people call me fat. It's just mean people, mean young people who also were told this from where? From a show on television or from their parents. My parents were fighting all the time at home, and I heard things, luckily in Chinese, that I didn't fully understand, and so I didn't take a lot of that language on for myself. But the language that was said about money was that it was so tight. And so I started thinking to myself that money was tight. How in the world can we think to ourselves at such a young age that money is tight? How do we know? What is the definition of it being tight or it being low? Right? What is the definition of you not being enough? What is the scale? Where does this come from? We have to think about, where do our beliefs come from about ourselves? The good ones and the bad ones. So when I'm talking about who you are, I'm talking about the set of beliefs that you have about yourself that run and control the actions that you take. The only reason I'm putting on my Nikes in the morning to go work out is because I'm somebody who works out. I that's who I am. I'm a healthy person who works out. But who determined that for me? It wasn't somebody that said, "Oh, Leo, you're a healthy guy." Or I got a couple YouTube comments or Instagram comments that said, "Leo, you're such a healthy guy." And I started to say, "You know what? I'm a healthy guy." No. It was the fact that I chose in that moment to be a healthy individual. I wasn't very healthy before, right? I was eating candy every single day. And I started to decide, I'm going to be healthy. I am a healthy individual. And so because of that identity, because of that understanding of who I am, I work out. But sometimes it has to happen this way. Ready? I have to go to the gym before I feel like I'm a healthy person. And I have to go to the gym before I feel like I'm ready. Because doing that, even showing up once, will give the spark that, you know what, I can be a healthy person. Same thing goes for business, in your environment, in your wisdom, in your vitality, emotions, faith, tribe, vocation. Every single person who is successful right now in some fashion in their life didn't start successful. Every successful business owner, you might say, oh, trust fund kids, doesn't matter. Every single person did not start at the success level and the person they became right then and there. They had to start in a place where they were not as secure in themselves. They had to start at level 1 or level 2. And then they worked their way up. They worked their butts off. Where in that time of working their butts off, they gained wisdom. Wisdom that is talked about in timeless books, wisdom that is talked about in the Bible every single page, right? But sometimes we got to take wisdom from our own lives because we're stubborn that way. But because of that, we understand who we are. And so the way you can start understanding who you are right now is take an audit of your mind. Write this down. Awareness of the mind. Awareness of the mind. We need awareness of what's going on in our brain. The Bible says, take captive of every thought. And all that means is if you and I spend some time together, okay, let me illustrate this. We're spending some time together. I'm like, hey, let's grab some lunch. And we sit down during lunch, and I'm looking at all the different different things that are on the menu, and let's just say it's you, me, and another person. Okay, you and me are good, right? We're doing pretty well. You know, we're not the richest people on the planet, but we're doing good. And this other person who's also doing okay is starting to say like, surf and turfs, $44. I don't know about that. Maybe I'll just get the fries. Are you guys seeing this? Like, maybe I could just get some of yours. Right. And they're saying all these things. And eventually we order and we're talking. I'm like, hey, how's your day? And you say it's fantastic. It's going good. And the other person's like, it's just been, I don't know. It's just been tough lately. You know, my mom's going through this and my dad's going through this and my sister's going through this and, you know, money's tight. And all of a sudden you and I are looking at each other like, what is going on? Why do we feel like this? And we'll start saying like, oh, maybe, I don't know. You know, things aren't going too well. You know, of course I wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that. But the third person, what's happening with them? Why are you complaining about your life right now? And it's because that's the habits that person has been living. That person is not aware of their thoughts and how negative their thoughts are. And so you and I, who are very aware of our thoughts, are looking at this third person like, dude, what is taking up your mind? What have you been watching lately? Right? Because all the stuff you're complaining about, I could complain about the same number of things in my life, and so can you. But why is this third person complaining out the woo how about all the craziness that's going on in their life? It's because the thoughts in their brain are consumed by negativity, and the thoughts in their brain are consumed of the world is against me. I'm a victim. And so because of that, woe is me. I have to complain to the world and make people know how bad my life is. Who knows a person in their life like that? Type in the chat, yes. Type in the chat, me. Say, I know a person like that. Who knows a person like that? Right? We all do. We all know someone in our lives. And it's because the awareness in they don't have awareness in their mind of all the negativity. They don't have. But when they sit with you and I, and we're positive about all the awesome things in our life, right? And we have bad things happening, but we reframe it. Right? We reframe things in our life. Oh, I might have someone who's sick in my family. I just say, God bless that they're still alive. God is with them. I pray for them. I'm gonna go visit them, tomorrow. And I just, would you mind praying for them with me? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Right? They start to see our minds of the positivity, and this is for a lot of you leaders, and we become what's known as a mirror for them. We become a mirror where their stinking negativity is mirrored right to them because our positivity is shining, giving them a glass mirror to see this is how negative you've been being in your life. And it stinks. And no wonder more bad things are happening in your life because you keep asking for it. And it also gives us the chance, you and I, when we're at lunch, to be very aware of our minds. Oh, wow, I've been hanging around this friend who's very negative, and I'm starting to think like him. He says he or she is very self-deprecating, and I find myself doing the same thing. Right? When you hang at a pool party long enough, you're eventually going to get wet. When you hang around 4, 5 positive people who have their lives in check, you're going to be the sixth well-rounded person. When you hang around 5 negative people, you're going to be the sixth. Who you spend your time around, your environment and your tribe will determine other aspects of your life. Because if your mind is filled with self-deprecation and negativity, and I can't, and I don't know if I can do this, and everything I try goes to shit because I don't think well, the emotions start to go down and it affects everything else in your life. And so when I teach mindset and I talk about your mentality, all I'm saying is take captive of every thought and remember who you are, who you're becoming, and whose you are. Now, the whose you are is a big topic that I touch on all throughout my shows that I'll talk more in depth in future shows. But who you're becoming is a, how do I say? It is an anchor for the development that you have today. Okay, when I say that, every single one of you guys, in 2 years, if you worked on all of these areas, your health, your fitness, your faith, your environment, your money, everything started to go up. Let's just say you started making great money in your life, and you started to become very wise, and you were reading every day, and your faith started to increase. Who knows that our life will be much better in 2 years? And who knows that our character and our identity and our personality and our communication skills and our skill sets will be much better? All of us. Because it is truth. It is real. And so if we know that to be true, then we know that who we are becoming is greater than who we are right now. And so if we understand that, then we can start to look at this and say, remember who you're becoming. Because again, I am a healthy individual now, but I wasn't before, but I chose to be a healthy person. I chose to start taking action before I was healthy. But it was the identity and the action that allowed me to truthfully be the healthy individual that I am today, which did not take 1 month. It took multiple years to be able to get to the position that I'm at now, physically, also financially, mentally, spiritually, right? Spiritually, it's only been, it's been a year of understanding Christ, but it's been multiple years of learning about God and praying to God and asking, what is my mission, God? Show me what to do. I don't know what to do with my life. And so what I'm saying is, you have somebody that you're becoming. Understand that you don't have to wait 2 years to be that person. You don't have to wait 2 years, but you do have to understand that in order to get there, there has to be a change in identity and a change in action. A change of identity looks like going from I'm not enough for all who I am, to I am enough, I am worthy. All right, I can do all things through Christ. You replace the negativity that the third person during lunch has, and you replace his thoughts of I'm not enough, so I have to talk about all the bad things that are going on in my life so I can prove that I'm kind of enough, to I am enough just the way that I am. I'm born on this earth. God has given me talents, given me gifts, even though I can't see them now. It is proven in scripture, it is truth that I am worthy, and that there is a incredible promise for us, incredible promises for us, just by being us and just by believing. And so if we understand that, we replace the I am not enough to I could do all things through Christ. In a secular version, it's I am enough. I can do it, right? When we start to change that identity, we have to do it consistently. I can do it. I can do it. I can do all things through Christ. I will get this done. Let's go. Let's move. Put on the shoes. Go for a run. Before your old programming, your old self starts telling you, you can't do it. You're not enough. You're weak. But why would we stay in that lie? Why would we stay in that old programming of I'm weak and I'm not enough when we know that we can change it? But sometimes it takes a massive spark to be able to change that. And my prayer is that today, that can be that spark. And so let's do this. Truka8. I told the story of when I started to work out. It changed everything for me. It changed everything in my mind. It changed everything in my spirit. It changed everything in what I used to read and what I still read. It changed all the ways that my identity was, and it changed the actions that I led with every day. And when those two start to change, you start to grow and you start to step into this person. You start to step into this confident leader, this grounded person that you're trying to become. And so I want to challenge you guys with something very simple. I want to challenge you with something very simple, and it's a 10-day challenge. Why is it 10 days? Because 30 is too long for some people, 7 is too short. 10 is great. I've been doing it for a couple days already, but I'm going to do another 10. And we're going to focus on the easiest and I believe one of the most important ones of these 8 that also help the rest of them grow so much faster. And it's going to be these two. It's going to be vitality and it's going to be wisdom. I said earlier, wisdom is the most important. I think these two together make all of them move faster than you can ever imagine. Because we need a change, guys. We need a spark of momentum. We need a light to be flashed, a match to be lit. Type in the chat yes if you're ready to hear about this 10-day challenge. Because we're taking wisdom and we're taking vitality and we're going to run with it. It's going to be super simple and every single one of you guys can do it. Okay? 10 days, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, and 10 minutes of reading every single day. We're going to do it together. I have the accountability of a couple people that said, "Hey, I want to do this," and I'll put them in a group chat actually tonight. If you're watching this later, it may have passed, but if you're watching within a 10-day window of November 18th and November 28th, perfect. Hop right in. 10 days, 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 10 minutes of reading. Choose any book that you want to read. Set a timer for 10 minutes. And for the 100 push-ups, you don't have to do all 100 at once. You could do 10 sets of 10. Or you could do 5 sets of 20, or you could do 2 sets of 50, or you could do 20 sets of 5. It doesn't matter as long as you hit 100 throughout the day. And for some of you who are just very beginning to work out and build strength, you can do incline push-ups, right? That means I might hit one of these, right, where it's much easier to do, but I'll hit 100 of them. Okay, and squats, same thing, super easy. You guys know how to squat. I'm not going to show it on here. When in some days you might want to do a chair squat, which means you just put a chair and you just squat down, get back up. Okay, 100 of them. All right, type in the chat 100 if you're down. Type in the chat 100 if you're down for it. If you're like, you know what, I need a spark in my life. I need something that's going to get me moving, and it's not like $100,000 going to pop in my bank account right now. It's not like I'm going to move to a new home today and change my environment. It's not that my business is going to all of a sudden hit 20 new clients. It's not that all of a sudden I'm going to meet this new tribe of incredible people, unless you're at a Truka event. It's not that all of a sudden my faith is going to grow and my anointing is going to grow at 10x speed. It's not that my emotions all of a sudden are going to solve, right? However, with your vitality and your wisdom, those are things that you can start working on right now with this 10-day challenge. And you're going to start to see some impeccable things, not just for your body, but also for your mind and your spirit and your confidence and your identity. Because like I said, who you become is more important than the action itself. By the end of this, you're someone who did a challenge, started one, completed the challenge, and worked out every day. You're a healthy person. You're someone who's fit. You're someone who makes good decisions for yourself. That is your identity. That becomes a part of who you are. And I want you guys to really think about this, where if you're going to do this, you got to do it. This isn't like a, hey, I might do it every now and then, but Leo doesn't really know, so I'm not really going to do it. I know. You're putting hundreds in the chat. If you're doing it, I'm going to keep you accountable and we're going to make it happen. And so I'm going to go back to this chat and see all the people who are doing it. Type in hundreds in the chat. I'm going to put a group chat together and we're going to call it the 10-day challenge, because I have not thought of anything cooler than that just yet. And I'll say it one more time. Your job is not to fix everything. It is to start moving in the important things. When you start reading every day, your brain is going to get a workout. Your brain's going to get used to reading. It's going to get used to gaining knowledge. The books I'm reading right now is Ephesians, the book of Ephesians. Incredible book about spiritual warfare. I'm also reading Spiritual Authority. I am on a growth of spiritual authority. That's why I'm focusing on that. There's other books that you can read, but 10 minutes every day, 100 push-ups and 100 squats. And you're going to let the people around you and your tribe know about it. And if you don't have a good tribe, then, hey, I'm going to put you in a Instagram, what are it called? Direct message group. And it's going to be fun. So this is the Leo Valentino Show. Again, my job is to help you transform into a grounded, God-aligned, and confident leader so you can live a whole, free, and strong life. That is my whole goal. That is Truka's goal. That is our ministry here on earth, is to help you guys do that. And when you show up every single week, you get one step closer to being able to get there. Hey, and can you do it yourself? Yes. But can accountability help? Absolutely yes. And is there a lot to learn? Also yes. And I'm learning every single day. So I appreciate you all. Everyone who said 100, I'm going to I'm going to keep you accountable. All right, guys, have a great day. I'm going to pray for us. God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for your word. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this and speaking through me through the Holy Spirit. God, I am just so grateful for everything. I like to say before I ask you for anything, thank you for everything that you give to us and my family and my friends and the people here on this show. God, bring the show out to the people who need it. Allow it to grow in the way that you want it to go. God, bless us with godly ambition, an ambition that is focused on you and the kingdom. And God, I pray over everyone who's doing this challenge. I pray that everyone gets the clarity that they need from it and the growth that they need from it. And I just pray that this show continues to be a good ministry and pray that it continues to reach the amazing people that it needs to reach. And I say these things in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. All right. Amen, beautiful people. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Crush the rest of the week. It's coming up Thanksgiving. I'm still going to do this show every single Tuesday at 3 p.m. on the dot, even when I'm in Japan in a couple of weeks. So, peace out. 100 push ups, 100 squats, 10 minutes of reading, 10 days. Let's rock it. Bye, guys.